Okay, so I wanted to make a quick video on the idea of self-help websites or YouTube channels or books or anything really. There's this idea that you should read what other minds have come up with in terms of philosophy and any sort of great thinker that's existed. You want to read their books, you want to understand what their thoughts were, their ideas, their concepts. Or maybe you found somebody on YouTube who, is a motivational speaker, or they promote some sort of philosophy, or they just, they think they can help you, become a better you. Or it could be really sort of a little bit more woo and metaphysical. All these things are not bad. They serve their purpose for what they are. But eventually, it's just like the concept of, let's say you like to read books. So you read books, and you read and you read and you read and you read, and then you talk to someone who's read thousands of books. And when you talk to them, what happens is that they usually spend 99% of their time regurgitating just information they've read in the books. So then you start to wonder, are they thinking about things for themselves at all? Because they have so much information in their head that they've read that they spend most of their time just spitting out that information. So there comes a time where you have to put down the books and be able to come up with your own philosophy on things. So you're not just puppeting someone else's thoughts and ideas. Because philosophy is great, but ultimately the most important thing is coming up with your own philosophy on life. Because it's sort of like let's say you want to read a lot of philosophy books. That's great, but then eventually you need to have your own philosophy. It's sort of like, let's say you want to become a singer, or you're learning to be a really great singer, and you're studying from all the great singers, right? All the great singers, you listen to them and you've studied them. And that's great, but then eventually you have to come up with your own voice, right? That's what's important. Because if you've studied all the great singers, but you don't have your own voice, you're kind of defeating the purpose, because the idea is you to bring out your own voice, not to mimic other people's voices. Because there's a lot of great singers out there, who've studied, and then you hear them and you're like, well, I don't know. Is that you singing, or are you just that's just like a way you've been trained to sing by listening to these 10 people? Because the most important thing is to really ultimately figure out your own voice in whatever you do. So the reason I'm making this video is because somebody left a comment about this idea of visiting a channel that sort of like a self-help channel based on helping you learn different things. It's called actualize.org. Never heard of it before. I just saw it last night. I watched a few of the videos, and keep in mind that when someone has a body of work where they have hundreds of videos or hundreds of anything, it's sort of insulting to watch a couple of videos and pretend like you know anything about that person, right? Because it'd be kind of like watching my videos and randomly clicking on one of my videos and thinking you know anything about me. Because I make so many videos on so many different topics that the idea of you clicking on a random one and thinking, yeah, I get what this Tony guy's all about. I see his whole thing. You can't really see someone's whole thing by watching one or two videos. So as far as As far as the person who does the videos in the actualize.org YouTube channel, I don't really know anything about him. I can just give you my first few impressions depending on the couple of videos that I saw. And as far as what I saw someone promoting the idea of love, and then I also saw someone promoting the idea of finding connecting with truth and actual experience as much as you can, which is a very noble idea, because this idea is we hear so many concepts and ideas and theories and we take them as truth, but in reality we don't really know. They're just told to us and we just assume, well, it must be true, right? But then it's this idea of like, it's a really nice analogy, the idea of looking at your hand and staring at your hand and knowing that that's truth, because that's something you can actually see for yourself. You don't need a scientist or a doctor or a religious person to tell you about it. It's right in front of you. It's right there. This is about as true as you can get, right? That idea. So that's a noble attempt to do that. So it's hard for me to really be against any of that, because fundamentally looking for something that's real, something that's not just a concept or something that you read in a book or something that someone told you, but it's something you can actually experience for yourself. That's noble. And in this idea of love, you always hear this idea of love in self-help or spiritual teachings, metaphysical teachings, love. Everything is love. Love, 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 love. Everything's about love, right? The reason this idea, this concept of love is so important is not because it's fluffy and it's cute and it's warm. It's the idea of true, genuine, unconditional love. That's the only thing that truly matters. Unconditional love. Now, not because it's fluffy or it's warm, because through unconditional love, it's the only way we give everyone the freedom to be who they are and do what they need to do. That's what unconditional love truly is. It's the idea of not constricting people, letting people be who they are, even if it's at a distance, right? Because this idea is when we see something we don't like about someone, we want to change it, or we want to stop it, we want to strangle it, we want to constrain it. We're like, I don't like that, so I'm going to push it down. Well, the idea of unconditional love is every single thing you see, like every single human, even if you don't particularly get along with them or enjoy being around them, you let them be who they are, because they are a unique part of existence. This idea is there's nothingness and then there's everything. The odd contrast between non-existence and nothingness and then everything, right? And everything is sort of like the reverse of nothingness, right? It's like everything, absolutely everything. So everything must exist, even things you don't like. Because if everything didn't exist, that means existence would be limited. And who wants a limited existence, right? You want an unlimited existence, right? Full of infinite possibility. Because if it doesn't have infinite possibility and it's limited, then you're not experiencing all that you could experience. So every single part of existence has to exist for it to truly be an infinite, unlimited existence. So all the things you don't like, you're not supposed to destroy them from existence or limit them or constrain them. You're supposed to just let them be as they are. That's true unconditional love. The idea of understanding that everything is the way it is, every single human is a unique part of existence, right? Because unconditional love is not the idea of like hugging everybody and being everyone's best friend, right? Because somebody might annoy you, somebody might be someone that you don't really get along with, and you don't have to be around them. You could just unconditionally love them at a distance and let them be who they are. It's just the idea of not letting your ego think that I need to change this person so they could be the way I want them to be. You have to let them be the way they are. Every single one of us is completely unique in our own way, and that's the whole point. We have to give ourselves the freedom to be completely who we are. That's all it is, because we really do want to push and constrain everything. We all want to, the external world, we want to like mold it into what we think is awesome. But it's not just you living in this world. We're all living in this world together. And when we give each other the freedom to be who we are, then that's true unconditional love. That's all you got to do. That's literally, it's not about going out there and hugging everybody and being sweet and like kissing everybody and saying like, you're my best friend, we're amazing. No, it's just literally giving everyone the space to be who they are. That's it. And in that way, you truly have an infinite existence that's not constrained in any sort of way. You know, it's not limited in any sort of way. Because imagine if every single one of us actually eliminated things we don't like about existence. If every single one of us started doing that, I'm going to take that away, I don't like that, I don't like that. Every single entity in this existence started doing that, eventually we'd be left with nothing. Right? Because there's always something that someone doesn't like, or they're offended by, or they don't, just something, you know? Eventually, no one would be able to speak, no one would be able to talk, no one would be able to make a joke, nobody would be able to hug, kiss, jump, roll, fly. We wouldn't be able to do anything. Everything would be eliminated, right? So, unconditional love. That's really, so any channel that's like a self-help, metaphysical channel, this person's some sort of guru, as long as they promote the idea of unconditional love, then they're on the right path. That's really the only thing that truly matters. Because everything else is just their sort of take on things, their philosophy on things. And as far as that, like everyone's got their own perspective on things, but as far as unconditional love, that really is sort of like one of those very few unconditional, what's it called? Like one of the very few universal truths. This idea of unconditional love at its core. This idea of like giving everyone the freedom to be who they are. So that all can exist, not just the things you like. Because like I said, if we got to choose what deserves to exist, we would all eventually eliminate everything from existence. Because every single one of us, if we had the power to eliminate everything from our existence we don't like, there would be nothing left. So the only way we can have everything is to unconditionally love everything and understand that everything must exist. And that's it. It's really as simple as that. So whether it's, you know, whatever website you like or you're curious about, this person speaking about these concepts or philosophies or ideas, just look into it and say, are they talking about this idea of unconditional love and what it truly means to give ourselves the freedom to be who we are, and we don't constrain that on each other, because that's the only way we could truly have an unlimited, infinite experience and existence. So if they're talking about that, then I would assume they're probably on the right path, and it's probably pretty useful information. But ironically, even if it's quote unquote not useful information, and let's say you watch someone for a couple of years and you think they're pretty charismatic and interesting and you're learning a lot of stuff, and after a couple of years you realize, oh, that was all nonsense. I can't believe I watched that. I don't connect with that anymore at all. Then that's fine too. You know, because this idea of, oh, is this the right person for me? Just watch what you want to watch. And then afterwards you'll figure it out. You know, because if you watch something and you think, I'm not really sure, is this person really talking about genuine stuff here? I'm kind of like iffy. We'll just keep watching. And then eventually you know, there's a part of you that's going to just sort of like have an actual realization. Yeah, I connect with this, or you don't. Yeah, give it a chance. You never know. And if you spend 2 years watching and then you realize you don't connect with it, that's not a waste of your time. That's another thing. We always think that, oh, I wasted 2 years on this. Or like you were in a relationship with someone, I wasted 2 years on you never waste time. Everything is a learning process, right? If you need to be with someone for 2 years to figure out that you don't connect anymore, or you don't want to be with them, that's fine. If you need to watch a self-help person on YouTube for 2 years until you finally realize that they're not for you, that's fine. There's no such thing as wasting time. Everything's a learning process, right? You learn something from that, you figure something out, and that's it. So, but really, ultimately, unconditional love. That's one of my only really true, genuine, universal truths, because it's really only through unconditional love that everything can exist, and we give each other the space and the freedom to be what we are. And that's it. So that's my little take on self-help channels. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye.